Hey kids, welcome to another episode of Glen YAPS. I'm down in the studio working in the nice coolness of the studio because it's pretty humid and warm outside. I'll be heading outside in the garage in a few minutes to go work on some drums, but today I spent the morning working on some original stuff and having fun with that. So I did a bunch of playing now that the lockdown was lifted in the last few weeks, and trying to get the chops back into a positive mode. A little bit rough, body's sore, and I'm sure other musicians are going through the same thing. So I'm talking today about I don't know if it's how I maintain my playing, but we're talking a frame of mind, how I try and at least keep my playing up to par with the other musicians I'm playing with who are younger. On the physical side of it, eventually that starts to fail. There's no two ways about it. But mentally, I just always try and lock into practicing my musical instruments every day. The drums being my main instrument. That doesn't always go in a positive way. I mean, I'm trying to get to that. It doesn't always advance you every single time you practice. What I'm getting at. What it does help you is keep your body loose, your muscles trained with the motions of the instrument, because drums are very, very physical instrument. Mentally, though, as you get older, you run into a lot of disappointments, like where your mind wants to do something, physically your body can't. Or it could be for any number of reasons. It could be that your coordination is just not developed enough and things like that. So I've been going through that in the last while, whereas stuff that I want to do and I'm learning mentally, trying to apply it on the drums, physically my body just can't get up to par with what I want to do. That will always be frustrating and has been frustrating for me in all the years I've been playing. There's no easy way around it. Just repetition eventually helps. There's just some things physically that I can't do. I'm pushing 60 years old. There's just some things I can't do like I used to. It's weird. Another thing too is, whereas I've always been a perfectionist, I've always done things. If I was learning cover songs, I tried to learn them note for note or as close as possible. I was just really nuts about that, and it was only for my own love of doing it. I just found it exciting to do, to try and nail things as much as possible, as close to the original as possible. I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people took it as ego and stuff like that. But for me, it was I just loved to learn the parts. I just loved it. I was just fascinated with learning. In retrospect, I did try and apply that to the bands I was in that I had started, and it was definitely when it worked, it was great, but when it didn't work, the atmosphere became like totally toxic, because not every musician wants to be like that. Um, a lot of musicians don't even want to come close to learning it like the original. So there's all these different paths that I could have taken, like doing things my own way or learning it perfect or if somewhere in between. So I took the perfectionist thing. And I'm not saying that I learned everything absolutely note for note. Some things I might not have achieved, but I got as close as I could actually mentally and physically do it. There's just some things that I may have heard wrong or heard differently in the recording, and to me that just it sounded like this, and I played it like that for so long. But I really tried to emulate the person that was playing the part on the recording. So that comes back in later years as a kind of a haunting thing, I guess, or I guess in some ways maybe a disadvantage. It just comes back as a negative thing to some, because some people come out, they may have watched you play through your years, your decades of playing, and they expect that all the time now. But what I've personally found is I was doing the perfectionist thing on music, trying to learn the stuff, just to help me learn songs better, just to help me progress faster. So this more complicated music that I was listening to was my teacher. So I was just trying to absorb it and better myself. On the outside, people get this misinterpretation that this is how I want it all to be. And except for the odd band where we were a little bit like-minded on this, trying to get things as close as possible, the objectives of the bands weren't always like that. But people thought that, every time they saw me, this was going to be, almost a copy, a copy of the actual song that somebody else did. And it was like, it would be just like listening to Rush or whatever. And that wasn't my intentions at all. The whole idea of the perfectionist thing is 100%. It was the learning factor for me. I just found it intriguing. So now, with a few bands, yes, you want to play it as close as possible. But after 40 years of playing, I in say the last 10 years, maybe even longer, I want to see how I play. Like, I want to know what I can do with all the stuff I've learned. I want to know what I can do on my own music or on original material. I just found playing copies, like doing cover songs, I did it for so long that it just it didn't do anything for me anymore in the sense of enjoyment. And I found that in recent years when I play in bands and they want to do a song I did from my past, and I had to go revisit these things, where it was fun learning the song at the time, to actually go back and relearn it. Like, you remember most of the stuff, but to actually go back and relearn it, I didn't find it fun anymore. Because I've been writing original music for so long, and I come up with original parts now, that just seems to have taken over in my mind. And that's where my heart and that's where my love is. Like, I enjoy playing live with bands. I always have and always will. I do not enjoy being in the basement practicing songs to death to get note for note. I can't do that anymore. I just can't. I guess the big picture is after 40 years, that really didn't, outside of the learning factor, it didn't really bring me anywhere. it didn't really give me anything in fame or fortune. It didn't really. There were no benefits of doing the perfectionist thing. Not that that was my objective, anyways. But some people just seem to think there were so many factors of why I was doing things note for note. But it was really just I wanted to learn faster and achieve things that were out of my league. I just wanted to better myself. So, but like anything, after 40 years, it's like the same formula sometimes gets tiring, and you have to change. So nowadays, I mean, there's people that come and see me play, and they haven't seen me play in a long time, but they have this vision of how I used to be with note for note, and now they might hear me playing the same song, and it's I play it pretty close, but I add my own stuff in it. I just get bored. People get bored. I can't, as much as I love a song, after 40 years, I want to know something else. I want to explore other directions. I want to be able to apply some of the stuff I've learned in tasteful ways in some of these songs. So there might be a section where it's not right, or not totally right. So I know that sounds taboo, but I know in the last few years, because the band I presently play in, we don't practice as a band. We learn the stuff on our own, and we play it live. And I find that totally challenging and totally appealing. It's a different thing than spending months in the basement playing a song. I like that stress of me having to control my own destiny in the song. So if I didn't learn it properly or comfortably, I'm the one that's going to crash and burn on stage. Like, you have to be in the ballpark of the song. Don't get me wrong. But after a while, I mean, boredom sets in. After 40 years, like, I know, I mean, people come see me and I'll play the Tragically Hip songs, some of their early hits, and I swear I've played those in every cover band, and I still love playing them, but I've played them in every cover song, or sorry, every cover band I've been in at some point. And at some point you gotta, add a little flair, add your own taste into it. And I know that's taboo to some, but I just get bored. After 40 years of doing something the same way, I get bored. And the other thing is, I've done it. There's certain things I've done in 40 years that were good mentally, good for advancing my playing to where I wanted to go. And I'm still learning. Every day I'm still learning. But what I'm getting at is, sometimes you can run a formula out and you have to find a new formula to keep yourself interested, keep the fire burning, we'll say. So I do get criticized for, because some people see me as I was in the past and how I used to play and how I am now, where I am soul searching for what, I guess, my own identity on drums. I think a lot of players shoot for that at some point in their life. And they don't wait until they're almost 60 years old like me. I mean, I kind of waited too long. And I mean, nothing I have done has got me anywhere on a fame and fortune kind of thing. that's another thing you have to accept. It's like, you know what, whatever you did in the past just didn't work. You know, you basically you failed for the um, the fame and fortune side. It's, you know, I've realized that for years, but some people don't. They come out and they hold you at a level that they remember you at when the bars were packed and stuff or whatever. And it's like, you know, that's like one piece in time. That doesn't last forever. It just doesn't. You know, I realize that. Most musicians realize that. There's a plateau, and it's, you know, in everybody's music career, and you can't repeat it. There's so many factors that made that work compared to bringing up to modern day, that music's changed, styles have changed, musicians have changed, instruments have changed. There's just so many factors. It's just lightning in a barrel maybe once. If you're really, really lucky, which I've never been lucky. Whatever I have done, I've had to fight for it. I've never had luck. And that's why I'm still in Sault Ste. Marie. I've never had luck, and you realize, and I've realized for decades, it's like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, there's too many better musicians. There's just too many better areas to live in to get noticed. And I'm basically not willing to move away. I love where I am in the Sioux. I love my house. I love being here. I have no dreams of packing up and moving somewhere to seek fame and fortune, because I know it's just not there. There are better drummers, and I've accepted that since day one. I just try and be the best I can be. It has nothing to do with me wanting to be world famous, that kind of shit. Never was. I just want to be the best. I just find it challenging, enjoyable to each day practice drums and learn something. Get off the drum set, sit down and go, wow, I did that and I couldn't do that yesterday. That's it. It's my small thought pattern, but that's all I basically focus on. I always wanted to be a studio musician, and I basically, that was my goal for almost a decade. And then I got hooked into doing original music, and that lit the fire in me to just work on that. And it's like a private little thing. It's like sometimes I post stuff, but I haven't posted original music in probably 10 years, maybe less than that. But I have tons of it. I just enjoy doing it for no other reason than I just enjoy it. I get to hear what I can do on a song that I created. And I do just original stuff with other people. But this misconception that I'm going to play the same as I did back in the 80s, you know, when I was doing tons of prog rock and all that stuff, it's like I couldn't keep doing the same thing. I found love in other music and other styles, and my drumming is definitely going to change. It may change for the worse in your eyes, or it may be better, or it might be the same. I can't, I don't know, I can't, you know, change your opinion, and I don't want to. I just wish people would understand that we can't keep doing the same thing for 40 years in repetition. I love what I did in the past, and I love what I do now, but they're totally different. So, I mean, if somebody comes up and they see me do say a song by the band Poison, I've always hated the band Poison. You know, I learned their songs note for note for a couple of bands that I played in, and now that's gone out of my head. Now when we play it, it's like it's close, but I change parts. I can't keep going back and relearning songs note for note anymore. I'm 60 years old. It just doesn't interest me. I want to be able. I wish I could play all original material on stage. I think uh, I mean, I've been influenced by some great musicians, locally and world famous ones. But in recent years, this drummer Gavin Harrison he's playing with King Crimson now, but he's played with a number of bands. Porcupine Tree is the one he was playing with that influenced me and changed my whole thought pattern, because even though he recorded his songs in the studio with the band and he thought out the parts and they're fantastic parts, when you see him live, he stretches on some of the parts. He advances. He changes some of the parts. The nucleus of the stuff he plays is there, but he changes it up. And every night he might change it up in certain areas, add his own flavor in. And that's what bands used to do in the 60s, the late 60s and early 70s. And then it got into this real sticky kind of area where everything was locked in to be the same every night, every single night. It was like your signature thing. And I was into the band Rush, and they play things note for note every night. But I found when Rush started jamming in their later years, it was like you got to see a whole different side of this band that you never saw in their other performances, because it was always regimented to being like the album. Now, is that a good or a bad thing? I can't say. All I can tell you is what it's done for me. It's helped me learn to be consistent. Okay, consistency is important. It's also learned me to be a believer in practicing all the time. You can't play, at the age of 60, like you did when a kid, as a kid, without practicing more and more. At least for me, physically, I can't sustain my playing for a whole night or a whole weekend if I don't practice through the week. I find it. I might be a looser player for the first little bit, but it isn't long before I start to find myself starting to tense up a bit. And I'm not saying my fingers tense up that I can't hold the sticks. I don't mean that kind of thing. I'm just talking the entire physical thing, but mentally, because there's a mental side of practicing, whereas if you practice all the time, you actually don't have to think so much about what you're playing live. And if you're a player that doesn't practice, I know I couldn't do it. If I didn't practice and went on stage, I would die a miserable death, because I'd be looking at the drums, and it would be like misfiring, an engine misfiring. That would be me, and I know that with a lot of people, a lot of musicians. Some have this gift where they don't have to practice at all. Buddy Rich was one, but he played so much with his band that it was basically his practice. When you're playing with a band every night on stage, obviously that's your practice also. But for me, it's like a misfiring engine. If I don't practice for like 4 days, which on occasion that's happened, and I feel horrible going back into it, it's a bit of a struggle. So I don't know if I'm kind of getting off track here, but I just find that, and I don't care about what critics say about my playing, good, bad, or indifferent. I play drums because of my own love of playing them. I could care less if you hated every inch of me or my playing. I just find it funny that people will criticize you now because I don't play like I used to, 25, 30 years ago. I don't want to play like I did 25 or 30 years ago, because then I wouldn't fit into the music that I'm playing today. Everything evolves, everything changes. Maybe evolves is the wrong word, but everything changes. So I like to be a person that changes with the styles of music, with the tastes in music, with the taste in music gear, with the learning techniques. There's always something to learn. I'm always learning something new that I didn't know before. Can I apply it in some of the music? No, can't apply everything that you learn on a technical side from a book or from a teacher that you can apply in music. It's just sometimes it's just it's a mental advancement or a physical advancement that just helps you play better. It may not help you play in a song better, but it may help you understand that song better. I don't know if that makes sense, but it is quite comical. Like, I can't say that enough. That I'll get criticized. They'll come up and say, "Oh man, you don't play like you used to." And to me, that's a compliment. I don't want to play like I used to, because it just means you were stuck in one style and you never you never went anywhere from there. And I just want to keep changing what I do, and I want to find out what I'm capable of, I guess. Find my own style. I hear this from a lot of famous drummers. They're at a certain point in their life, they search for their style. And that's why you get guitar players and bass players and drummers and singers that once they've developed their style, they don't really sound like they were part of that main group of people. Like, say, Stevie Ray Vaughan. There were tons of blues players, and I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan played licks that other guitar players played, but nobody sounded like him. So there was something he was doing that created his own style. Neil Peart had his own style. There are lots of famous drummers nowadays, like Dave Weckl, Vinnie Colaiuta. There are all these musicians that stand out from the hundreds of thousands of others. They found that niche. They found what they were looking for. So I'm on that search. I'm not as good as any of these players that I mentioned, but I'm searching for something that, I don't know, makes my playing different. And you know what? Sometimes that is an endless search, because some musicians never find it, and I probably won't find it. I have no, I don't have any urgency to, donate my entire being to trying to find that. But in a casual, calm, nice, fun way, I am searching for that. What can I do to make my playing different from some other people, even just on a local basis. I mean, lots of good musicians, lots of good drummers in our city. That's a no-brainer. But and we could all achieve roughly the same thing. So I just want to continue to search to find who I am. I don't know yet when it comes to the musical instrument. I'm retired. I retired early from my job to try and find more in music than I ever did before. Playing in a cover band is a fun release for me, but that is not my main goal. I do it for fun. Original music is my focus. That's all I put my mind to. When it comes to cover songs, I will not practice in a basement with a band ever again to learn cover songs. I have no interest in that. It's been more failure than anything else that I've ever done in my life. I've had bands practice for a year, play one gig and break up. I will never ever, ever go back to a band rehearsal in the basement. I'll have jams where we just have fun, but no more of that. It's just been one failure after another for whatever reason. It's not worth mentioning, but you have to realize that it's time to move on. Try something totally different. So for jam sessions, just to have fun, maybe come up with some ideas. That's fantastic. I'm into that. But original music has my full focus now. And I don't care if people like it. I don't care if people hate it. I just don't care. It's just for personal goals, just to see if I can do it and just have fun with it. Create something that might interest somebody someday. Like I say, the fame and fortune thing has never been my focus. My focus was always studio musician, to get my head wrapped around original material, do drumming for somebody doing original material. That's always been my thing. I got sidetracked with bands because a lot of my friends wanted to be in bands, and so and don't get me wrong, it was a lot of fun for years. But, it only worked for a short time and never really amounted to anything. So after a while you get tired, after decades of it, you get tired of things not amounting to anything. Wasting time in the basement looking at four walls, practicing with a band that's really just going to break up after two songs on a set, on a Friday night, because, of some bullshit. I've had some good bands and I've had some shitty bands, and you know what? They all had this mixed life line, or that's what was the word I'm looking for? No, I can't think of it. But all these bands had their own time, and most of them were short. Only a few lasted beyond 5 years. But for me, I just want to play live. The cover band thing is fun, stress relief. Just want to do original stuff. If people don't like what I play, I don't care. If people like what I play, it's kind of the same thing. I'm doing it because I love it. If it makes you smile and we can make you dance, that's all we're there for. I'm not out to leave an impression that I'm this kind of person, this kind of drummer, watch me go. I never was like that. It's just, I want to have fun with it, and I just want to find my own soul, I guess, in my playing. I haven't found that, and I probably won't. But the last 10 plus years I've been searching, and I haven't found it yet. I can't speak for the other musicians I play with in my band because we're all so different. But yeah, it's just weird. I appreciate people that remember the past, the bands I had and those good times. I really appreciate that. I cherish my time with a lot of those bands, as many know, because I'm always posting videos. And as much as I post pictures of that, that's another misconception. They figure that's where I'm stuck, and that I can't put that away because I keep posting stuff about the past, which is absolutely wrong. It's not why I post the stuff at all. My whole thing is I've already moved on from all that. That was still good times, though. What I'm trying to emulate is, or put forth, is that those were good times. I wish, that bands nowadays had a taste of the enthusiasm crowds had back then, because crowds were great back then. But I do not want to revisit that music, nor do I want to revisit the bands that I played in those days. There's no use trying to dig up the past and regroup it, because it won't happen. Everybody's lives are different now. Some of these people that I play with have not touched an instrument since. So that's not the reason why I post those. I post them as an enjoyment and as a flashback. But by all means, I have moved on from all these bands. And a lot of those musicians, the ones that still continue to play, have changed directions also. Their styles have changed. Their guitar playing has changed. Their bass playing has changed. Their vocals have changed. They're not living there either. They're not living in that past. It's just fun to visit. And I wish people would understand that. Because I don't play the music that... I don't come down here and relive my days playing Rush. I haven't played a Rush song in, got to be 15 years, 20 years. I just don't... I played a lot of the Rush songs. Now it's ear candy to me. I still listen to Rush, still love Rush, but I don't play Rush anymore. It's just, that was a part of my life. Now I've gone into other things. I have other interests, other music loves. Just got to keep evolving. So yeah, so this kind of just a rambling thing, because I mean, I've had a few friends visit from out of town, and we end up talking about what we did in the past. So some of us went to high school together, and we played in the auditorium, for those gatherings they have in the auditorium, and we'd all play music. And it's like, I hope we don't want to think we want to go back to playing that way. We remember the fun and the excitement of playing on stage for the first time, but there was a fear factor, there was an experience factor that just wasn't there. Like, the experience was, we were first time playing. You don't want to go back to that. You want to revisit it as a fun moment, but you definitely don't want to think, I wish I played like that again. That would be awesome, that I dropped my stick 4 times on stage playing one song by the knack. Yeah, you don't want to relive those. Those are funny now. But at the time they were terrifying, but they're funny now. It's like, we have to evolve. So that's where my headspace is at. It's like all original material, and I'm trying to find my own soul on drumming, I guess. My own style. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's an endless search. Do I still practice every day? Always. But do I want to keep, playing covers of Toto's Rosanna or Rush's 2112? It's like, no, I've done that. Had fun with it. It was great. It was a learning curve. Now you take what you learned off those and apply it somewhere else. And it might be the smallest little application, tiniest, but that big piece help construct one teeny piece of your new direction. So I hope people get that. I mean, I don't mind being criticized. It doesn't bother me. I do these videos to just kind of clarify where my headspace is at. You're welcome to believe and think what you want. Most people that do criticize others, and I'm guilty of it myself, is there's a criticizing level where it's, you basically are learning from it. Like, for me, if I'm criticizing something, if I go see a band in town, it's like I hear them do something and I go, holy Christ, it's like, I definitely don't want to do that. I never want to do that. That might be a one-time thing, boo-boo, that they made, but I know to criticize it, I would say that's just not something I want to do. And they probably are saying, God, I wish we didn't go through with it and screw up that badly on that one part. And they're never going to do it again. So it comes down to that. Like, everybody criticizes. You learn from your criticism. And you could be positive on the criticism. You could basically, say, "Oh my God, that band is amazingly tight." I don't know if that's, I mean, I love a tight band. I don't care if you know it note for note or not. There's a magic to a tight band, and you don't see tight bands in the local area that often. Like a tight band that really stands out. But like I say, I don't mind the criticism. I've been criticized all my life, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Doesn't bother me. I'm still playing because I love playing drums. No one is going to stop me from enjoying me playing a musical instrument. I don't care what anybody says. It's just I'm still going to play that musical instrument. That's why I don't really like it when teachers say you have no musical talent. Everybody can at some point learn something. I don't believe in the word never. So anyways, that's my spiel, just a random YAP session. So thanks for listening. Bye bye.